Okay, this is the first time I've ever tried doing a video like this, so just bear with me. A lot of budding filmmakers, myself included, use DSLRs for film media. In most cases, DSLRs make for a really good, affordable, entry-level camera to the world of filmmaking. So, with that being said, my name is Will, currently studying film and TV production at university in my second year, and I'm going to tell you some of the pros and cons to filming with DSLR. I'm going to do my best to be as not rambly as possible. I have wrote a script to go off, but just with this being my first one, we'll see how it goes. DSLRs are one of the most affordable forms of filmmaking these days, besides pulling your phone out of your pocket and recording it that way, which is a thing that people are doing now. I think there's currently a film in production where they're just trying to shoot on nothing but a Galaxy S8, so whatever. To be fair, personally, if you're looking to start off filmmaking somewhere, then I would actually suggest just using your phone. I actually started shooting my videos with an iPod. Oh, I've got it here actually. I actually started making videos with this iPod. Actually dropped with this, an iPod Nano, because it's got a little camera on the back, and it wasn't fantastic. And for some reason, Apple put the camera on the bottom of the. You know, I don't understand why. My first gateway back into filmmaking back in sixth form as well was actually shot on an iPhone 5S with an iRig attached to it. And it was a really fun piece to shoot as well. Looking back, it is rather flawed. I mean, for one thing, we didn't write a script for the video. We just kind of ad-libbed all the dialogue on the spot, which gives you quality dialogue just like this.
Get this thing off me. What are you doing? What? Hide the tree, hurry.
Oh no!
Right, this guy stole from me. We have no quarrel with yous. We have no quarrel with yous.
Not in a Shakespearean play, what the fuck am I doing? None of us knew how to do audio mixing or anything like that either, so some of the dialogue was a bit...
Oh no!
So there's that. One thing that I will definitely say is that you shouldn't feel limited by the hardware that you have access to. If you've got a phone with a camera, use the phone with the camera. Okay, sorry, that was a bit of a tangent, but going back to the DSLRs. I started off with a Canon 1200D. I just used the kit lens that I got with it and just shot anything and everything that I could. DSLRs are a really good way to get into filmmaking because it starts to introduce you to some of the terms and things that you would find on professional shoots. It really helps you get to grips with basics like pulling and pushing the focus, depth of field and focal length and things like that, the shutter and the shutter speed, the camera aperture and how the camera aperture works in relation to making things brighter or making things darker, digital manipulation, things like ISO, gain, that kind of aspect. So I'm just going to backtrack and I'm just going to explain a couple of the terms that I've said there because some people might not know what I'm on about. So, the aperture. The aperture is on the body of the camera, and the way that that's controlled is... If you imagine an aperture as an eye, so if you've got your eye closed, you're not going to see anything. Opening that eye allows more light in, and with more light in, then you can see more, and you're also getting a lot more flood of white coming in behind you. So if I was to open the aperture all the way, I think it only goes to about a quarter on my SLR, then everything would look a lot more washed out and a lot more white, and then I can then close that aperture. Your aperture is really good for things like if you're shooting in a really bright place, namely like on an SLR in a photography studio where everything's just white walled. You can close that aperture and control a lot more of the light that's getting into your camera, and you can start to model things. Another thing that SLRs are really good for introducing you to is things like frame rates. So I'm shooting currently in 50 frames per second. That means you're seeing in every single second 50 individual images that are being taken of me. Films tend to be shot in 24 frames or 25 frames per second if you're in the UK, and 29.9 frames per second on US TV and film. Okay, now looking at something like the sensor. So digitally, a DSLR like the one that I'm shooting on at the minute, the Canon 700D, is 18 megapixels on a CMOS sensor. Now, if you were to compare these size, if you have a look at this chart, this basically encompasses SLR sensors. So you'll notice as the sensor size gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you then get to what's called a 35mm frame. 35mm is what tends to be one of the standards to shoot on a film camera. The cameras that I'm used to, the Sony FS7 and the Sony F5, shoot on 35mm. Their sensor is a 35mm size sensor. So in the cameras that I've learned to use since going to university, like the FS7 and the F5, they have what's called a Cine EI mode, which I'm fairly sure is exclusive to Sony cameras. Basically the cameras will shoot in what's called S-Log3, which means that you're going to get the maximum depth out of the sensor that you're shooting on. A DSLR like the one that I'm using doesn't have that capability because of the size of the sensor. So 35mm full frame cameras are designed to pick up as much detail as they can from their sensor. Take this clip for example. Here is some practice footage that I shot on my SLR from my cinematography module last year. Now look at the footage that I shot on the F5. The frame's bigger, for one thing, but I'm also getting a lot more detail in what I'm seeing, so I'm getting a lot more edges, my shadows are protected, but so are my highlights. That's because that's what the camera is designed to do. If I was shooting it on an SLR like this one, I probably wouldn't get that level of detail. When it comes to post-production as well, in grading and things like that, you're not going to get as much capability out of a SLR as you would out of a full-frame camera, and that's one of the biggest flaws. SLR cameras are fantastic, to work with. In fact, there's some really good media out there at the minute that's been shot on SLR. One of the most famous actually is the Guinness Horse advert. That was shot on an SLR. So there's nothing to say that you can't get quality out of an SLR, because you can. So in a nutshell, really that's your biggest flaw with an SLR, is just the sensor. If you're looking at getting into filmmaking, by all means pick up an SLR and just work with it, get to grips with it, learn it, because it's a fantastic entry to using a camera. But there's more to filmmaking than just the camera that you're using, and that's why I would actually advise pocket filmmaking, which is your phones, iPods, whatever. Just pick it up and get out and just make something, make anything. When I very first started, I made things with my sister and my cousin about Jaws on a beach, and it was made with a digital camera. There's a lot of literature that you can pick up about filmmaking. Some of it's going to be a bit more dense than others. If you're wanting something that's going to be quite a light read, that's going to give you direct information in a reasonably short amount of reading time, I would advise picking up this. This is the Digital Filmmaking Handbook. Me and my flatmates have all got a copy of it. It gives you clear, concise information for beginners and for intermediate level filmmakers, just on basically the cameras that are available to use, the equipment that you can use, different filmmaking techniques, that kind of thing. It's definitely worth reading if you're getting into filmmaking. I would advise it to absolutely anybody. You can pick it up from shops like Waterstones and things like that. Just if you want to get hands-on, definitely just do some reading. You know, if you enjoyed the video, thank you for watching, and I will see you in some other type of this sort of video in future. I need to work on my outros. Thanks for watching. Bye.